What is up, my comic fans? Kara here, Capital K Comic Reviews, coming at you with another video. This one, we're going to be talking about a character that bothers me somewhat in a bit. So we'll get into it. But this is why I don't like Miles Morales. Let's go.
Your love is rated X. That means you're extra,
Right, comic fans, here we go. Miles Morales. I'll explain to you why I'm not a big fan of Miles Morales. Now, why I don't really like him. It's not that I hate the character. I don't mind the character itself per se. Written good. He's intriguing. He's relatable. And that's only purely because he is based off Spider-Man, Peter Parker. He's basically based off that. Well, he is based off that. So it's not the character I have a problem with. It's not Miles himself I have a problem with. The problem I have is with the higher-ups behind the scenes at the comic industry, at Marvel. That's the problem. But we'll get into that later on into this video. But we'll start off where it all started off. Ultimate Fallout number 4, first appearance of Miles Morales. That's where he started his game. And he was part of the Ultimates universe with Peter Parker. And that's where he stemmed from. Now, the reason why Miles came about was because Michael Bendis was writing Ultimate Spider-Man, and as he was doing the run of Spider-Man, he wanted we wanted to develop or create characters that his kids could look up to and relate to, because they're of African American descent. So he decided to bring in or create Miles Morales, and you know, a lot of people out there are saying, like myself, are saying that Miles is getting moved into position to take over from Peter Parker, and I don't like that, because it shouldn't be like that. But and you got Marvel and everyone else saying no, he's not. We're not replacing Peter with Miles. But the landscape says, and if you can read between the lines, see through the fog, you can see that Marvel is trying to replace Peter, and we'll get into why and how they're hiding it from everyone. And if you can't see it, I don't know. But anyway, starts off in the Ultimate series, comes along, and his uncle, Miles' uncle, is the Prowler thief. He steals tech from Oscorp, and one of the genetically altered spiders hitches a ride with him, and that's how Miles gets his power. He goes to see his uncle, he gets bitten by the spider, and he ends up with Spider-Man-like abilities, basically like Spider-Man, with two differences: bioelectric attacks and his camouflage ability. But basically everything else is the same as Spider-Man. Heightened senses, Spidey sense, crawl on walls. The only thing he doesn't have is that he doesn't have web shooters when he first starts. But Miles decides, and this, guys, is how they hide, through tricky writing, hide the fact that no, Miles is not taking Peter's spot. So during the comics, during the Ultimates run, when Miles gets his powers, he decides, I don't want to do anything with him. I don't want to be a hero. I don't want to use it for financial gain whatsoever. I just want a normal life. I just want to be a kid, a teenager, and it's hard enough being a teenager, going through the struggles of fitting in, finding my place, and puberty and all that kind of stuff that goes on when you're a teenager. But so he decides not to do anything with his powers. He decides, no, I don't want to be a hero, and that's how they slipped it under the carpet. So the only way that Miles became a hero is when Bendis and them basically killed Peter Parker in the Ultimates comic, and they basically killed him in I think it was Ultimate Spider-Man 160, I think it was. That's where Peter died. And Miles decides to take up the mantle after Peter dies, so there's your first step of, there's the first baby steps of him moving into position to take Peter's role. Peter's basically killed out of the equation. Miles comes in, and he decides to take a Halloween costume, which is basically a replica of the Ultimate Spider-Man Peter Parker's outfit, and go out for a run in it and go try and fight some crime and things like that. And he runs into problems, as you would, because you're dressed up as Spider-Man, so Spider-Man's got a lot of enemies. And then he comes across Spider-Woman, which she basically says, look mate, you need to pull your head in. You're jumping around here with Peter Parker's outfit on, and you're not Peter Parker, basically. It's a bit too early for you, it's just died. The actual Spider-Man's just died, and it's a bit early for you to be jumping in his get-up and gallivanting around, posing as him. And then Miles, even though Miles came from the fact of honouring Peter and paying homage to the mantle of Spider-Man, and ends up getting his own costume, but that was their way of getting him in the door. And people ate it up, people liked the character. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the character. Developed well, written well, and written well that they snuck him in there to take Peter's spot, and then say, hey, no, he's not taking Peter's spot, but at all, he's not taking Peter's spot, but we killed Peter, he's now dead, so Miles is there. But hey, he didn't take a spot, and that kind of thing. So, but he is a well-developed character and well-written, well-relatable. Now, he, like I said at the start of this video, he is well relatable because he is a parallel version of Peter Parker. They are basically the same person, just one's Peter Parker, the other one's Miles. One's black, one's white, one's black. And here it is, here's white. Both got their spider abilities from a genetically older spider, or a radioactive spider, or a genetically enhanced spider. Both got their powers from there. Both were teenagers. Both were trying to find their way as teenagers in the social scheme of the hierarchy of teenagers. We all know how they can be. Trying to find their place. Both of them were trying to doing their struggles as teenage years in high school and stuff like that. Both went through personal tragedies at a young age, and going through that. Then both trying to find their way as a hero, finding their footing, and going along with that. If you cannot see the similarities between the two, you are blind to the fact that Miles basically is mirroring Peter. And the stories are tweaked differently, but they are basically the same. They're following the same formula that made Spider-Man what he is. And then so Miles becomes so popular that gets a big fan base behind him, because a lot of African American kids in that can relate to him. Good on him. And like I said, I got no problem with having diversity, having different race characters. I do feel like they don't need to be riding on the coattails of famous characters, already established characters, and things like that. I understand why they do it. I understand why they jump on the coattails of big superheroes like Batman, like Hulk, like Spider-Man. Is because people can relate to them and already know them. Like, oh, hang on, there's a female Batman. Now she's black. She's a female black Batman. Or like Moss. Oh, he's a black guy, but he's Hispanic, but he's Spider-Man. I want to read into that. Oh, there's a Hulk, but it's a female Hulk. I might read into that. So I can understand that aspect of it, trying to get people interested in that. But if you write a character well and develop him well, that will come in time. Perfect example of that, Black Panther. Black Panther is a prime example of an individual character, his own character in his own right, and his own stories, developed well. Now look at him. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda Forever, and all that stuff. But there's a well-developed black character that people, African American people, or people of other races can relate to. Kamala Khan, another one that people can relate to, and why she is, I think, was developed better than Miles is that because she took up the mantle of Miss Marvel, and you understood why she took up the mantle of Miss Marvel, because she was a huge fan for years, in her younger years, of being a fan of Miss Marvel and Carol Danvers and stuff like that. So she decided to take up the mantle. Now, she didn't replicate Miss Marvel's outfit 100%. She took the lightning bolt, she took the sash, stuff like that, but the rest was her own. She has not got the same power set as Miss Marvel at all, as Carol Danvers at all. Totally different. So that's why I think she was a bit more relatable, a bit more understanding that she took up that mantle of Miss Marvel. But there are many other characters. You've got Naomi from DC, Static Shock, a bit more adult. You've got Blade, Storm from the X-Men, and there's a whole plethora of characters in the X-Men universe itself that are all different races, you know. Can't even get started. So there are characters out there that you can focus on that are not, and those ones I named are big characters. Blade's a big character, Storm's a big character, Black Panther's a big character, you know. Static Shock, big character. These are all, and let's not forget Black Lightning, had his own program. Big characters, man, and you know, and so there are characters that you can thing on and do that kind of thing. But they went with Miles, and you know, so he got so popular that they decided to bring him over to the 616 universe. Now, how they did that was through clever storytelling, with Galactus coming over to the Ultimate Universe and trying to destroy the universe, and then jumping back to the 616 universe, helping Tony and the Avengers try to defeat the Galactus. Then they end up on like Battle World fighting Doom God, or God Doom, sorry, and it was all a good story. It was all a good story, but then it kind of got let down with how they brought Miles over to the 616 universe in the end, and it all came down to a burger. If you haven't read the story, go read it. It's a good story, but Miles essentially comes over to the 616 universe all because of a burger that he had in his pocket. Now, because if you read the story about Battle World and stuff like that, you know, it's like God Doom and a lot to do with Molecule Man. Now, if you don't know who Molecule Man, just go read, you know, go do some research, Google him. But he is one of the most powerfulest characters in the Marvel universe. But this burger he gives to Molecule Man, and Molecule Man ends up bringing Miles over to the 616 universe. So Miles wakes up, 616 universe, what's going on? Finds out there's actually an existing Spider-Man here, and it's AKA the OG Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Now, it's not the first time they met. They met in at the end of the Ultimate Universe, and when Peter came over and he was trying to get tips off the actual Peter Parker. So they met before, but he's waking up in the 616 universe and trying to find his way in there. And that's all due to popularity, and that's all due to the world that we live in these days. So comics has always reflected what's going on around them in the actual world. So with what's going on in the world lately, with the Black Lives Matter movement, with diversity, with equality and all that stuff, it's the only thing that it's going to show over into pop culture, into comics and stuff like that. But you know, like I keep saying to you, it's not the character I don't like, it's not the character that I hate, it's the fact that I feel like he's being force-fed down our throats by Marvel, which I don't like. Spider-Man is my favourite character, you know, of all time. I've got three favourite characters: Spider-Man, Captain America and Hulk. Spider-Man has always been my favourite, and kind of see him going out like that is kind of a slap in the face. He's been around. He's got like 50 plus years of history, mythos and history and fandom that's behind him, and I feel like Marvel is just pushing him aside to bring through Miles and say, here's your new Spider-Man. And it's not Miles' fault because that's what Marvel are trying to do now. So he gets popular, people start following him, they decide to make their own series of the all new Spider-Man, and bring along. So they skip along, and then he gets so popular that they think that Sony decides, oh look, I might make a movie, and they bring out Into the Spider-Verse. Now, anyone that's anyone knows that wasn't the Spideyverse. That's not the Spideyverse that we've all read. No, it just wasn't even close to it. So they give us the Spideyverse. Now, a lot of people saying that, oh, that's the best Spider-Man movie of all times. That's wrong. In my opinion, it's not. It's not even in the top 3. I know it's won awards and all this stuff for animation and stuff like that. It just wasn't a good movie. I've only watched it once. I'll probably never watch it again. But basically, the Spideyverse was not based around Miles at all. Not based around him at all. He is in it, but it's not based around him. But the movie made it all based around Miles. So it's basically an origin story of Miles Morales, with a little pinch of the Spideyverse. But when I say little pinch, I mean minute. Because this Into the Spideyverse comics was based around Superior Spider-Man, which, if you don't know, is Doc Octavius conscious in Peter Parker in Spider-Man's body. And you've got Ben Reilly, and they gather the Spider Army. So before I get into this, because that'll be a whole nother video talking about that. So they make this movie, and they base it all around Miles and try to jump on the coattails of his popularity at the time with the youth and stuff like that. And then they bring out Spider-Man on PS4. Probably the best game of superhero game ever, bar maybe, the Batman Arkham series. Fantastic games. Not a huge DC fan, but love those games. But Spider-Man and Sonic Spider-Man on PS4 was fantastic, and it just all over it was a fantastic game. You had some missions with Miles in there. You had some missions with Mary Jane. I wasn't a huge fan of those missions because they really like sneaking around and stuff like that. But loved the game Spider-Man. So when I finished that game, I knew there would be a bit more involvement of Miles because that's how I was leading. I was like, oh, okay, here we go again. They've done it in the comics. They're going to try and do it in the games and stuff. So they do that, and I'm like, cool. Show at the end, Miles shows him he's got the same powers as him. And if you play a new game of it, then you'll hear Miles through it when you're going to train with so I'm like, okay, they're going to have more Miles in the next one. Only to find out when they bring out the next one, which is out now, that it's basically the roles are reversed now. It's Spider-Man, Miles Morales. So you are Miles Morales, and which makes me go back. If you can't see that they're trying to replace Peter Parker, you're blind. And they did it in the comics, and they did it with us. They took the best game of 2018, Spider-Man, and then they bring it over to Spider-Man Miles Morales. We'll change it to Miles Morales now. Now they're saying that, it may not be the same, which it may not be. The next one after this may go back to Peter. But my point is that that's their way of trying to force them down your throat. And I think they should just let it be. Now, I haven't played the Miles Morales game. I've been a bit hesitant to get it because I'm just like, oh, I don't know, and I probably will. There's no doubt that I will end up getting it because it is a Spider-Man game. But what I've heard online from it and what I've read about it, it's a good game, and it's not as big as the last game from what I've heard. It's not any different than the game before, besides having bioelectrical abilities and camouflage and stuff like that. It's basically the same game. Combat systems basically the same. Free roaming is the same. So it's basically Spider-Man, 2018 Spider-Man, and you're just Miles Morales in it, basically. And yeah, so you get to play Miles, and just like the comics in the game, they have a fight with, I think it's Rhino. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's Rhino. They end up chilling out on the rooftop and talking about what's going on, and Peter turns to Miles and says to him, look, Mary Jane's going overseas for a few weeks, so I'm not going to be here for a few weeks, so I'm going to leave New York to you. You're the new Spider-Man. So it came out of his mouth, out of Peter's mouth, that Miles, you're the new Spider-Man, and I'll give you this gift. And he gives him this gift. He goes, sees his mate, open the gift, surprise, surprise, it's basically an updated version of the classic Peter Parker Spider-Man outfit. I don't know how much evidence you guys need to see that they're trying to push Miles into Peter's spot. And like I've always said, guys, it's got nothing to do with the character per se. Great character. It's Marvel and the people directing behind that are forcing him down our throats. Yes, he is a popular character. Yes, he is a great character. But yes, he can exist on his own. He doesn't have to take the spot, and you'll be like, no, he's not taking the spot. He's not taking the spot. He didn't take the spot in the comics. We just killed Peter Parker. We didn't take the spots in the game. Peter Parker's just left New York. So that's how I think they're hiding it behind, trying to push in Miles into us. Now I hear that there's rumours that he could be appearing in the MCU, which is fine. It's fine, and I knew it was probably another going to go that way. Stop trying to force feed us Miles. Stop trying to ram him down our throats. He's a popular character. He's going to stay popular. He's going to be popular. So just stop ramming him down our throat and stop making us feel like he's taking Peter's spot, and say to us, no, he's not taking Peter's spot. But like, that's it. Pretty much, guys. I don't hate Miles. He's not my favourite character, Spider-Man character, but he's okay. He's good. But that's why I don't like Miles. And it's not Miles per se, it's the people driving him. From behind the pen, from behind the ink, from behind the paper, pushing him down our throats, saying that he's not going to take Peter's spot, but here he is taking Peter's spot. They can coexist, and stuff like that, but stop trying to ram them down our throats, guys. They're both relatable characters. They're both from New York. They're both from the lower. They're not from the higher end of New York City. They're both from street level. Like I said, they've basically mirrored each other. Or Miles has mirrored Peter. If you can't see that, then I don't know what to say. But that's basically it, guys, in a nutshell, why I don't like Miles, and stuff like that. I know that there's going to be heaps of people out there that are probably going to kick up a stick. What the hell are you talking about? Miles is the man. He's blah, 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 blah. He's not trying to take Peter's spot, and that's fine. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it, because I know that there's going to be people out there that totally disagree with me, and that is absolutely fine. This is my own opinion, and this is how I feel about the comic industry and characters, certain characters in the industry, where they're going. So let us know in the comments how you feel. But if you like or even dislike this video, hit those thumbs ups, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you get notified when I drop new content on my channel. Check out the rest of the content on here, and we'll go from there, and we'll see you on the next one.